Daf Yomi, Tractate Chullin, page 4b, with the words Savruha Hamani. Savruha Hamani, Rabbi Yehuda, Yom HaChometach Ala Pesach de Raise. V'ketanu mipnei shein machlipin, alma lo yisha v'katero v'yochol isuro. The sages who cited this proof assumed that these braiso is in accordance with whose opinion? They assumed this is in accordance with the opinion of Yehuda, who says leavened bread that was not eradicated before Passover is forbidden after Passover by Torah law. The Gemara comments, and nevertheless it is taught that it is permitted due to the fact that the transgressors exchange their leavened bread with that of Gentiles. Apparently, even one who performs transgressions does not intentionally forsake the permitted and eat forbidden food where the permitted food is easily accessible. Mimai Dilma Bishimani Dilma Bishimani Dioma Chometach Al Pesach Derabanan V'chi Mekilinan Biderabanan Bidoraita Lo Mekilinan. The Gemara asks, and from where in the Braita can this be proven? Perhaps the Braita is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, who says leavened bread that was not eradicated before Passover is prohibited after Passover by rabbinic law. And accordingly, when we are lenient, it is with regard to prohibitions by rabbinic law, whereas with regard to prohibitions by Torah law, for example, the prohibition of an unslaughtered carcass, we are not lenient. V'tehevena Rabbi Shimon mikatani shan yomen hechlifu mipnei shemachlifin katoni devadai machlifin Ruma b'derabanan lo shavek hetera v'yachel isua bidoiraisa lo yikol shechen. The Gemara answers, and let the Braita be even in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. Does the Tana teach, as I say, that they are exchanged? Does the Tana teach, as I say, that they are exchanged their leavened bread for the leavened bread of a Gentile, which would indicate that it is an assumption? He teaches due to the fact that they exchange, as a statement of fact, as they certainly exchange. And if in cases involving prohibitions by rabbinic law, the transgressor does not intentionally forsake the permitted and eats forbidden food, then in prohibitions by Torah law is it not all the more so reasonable that he would not forsake the permitted in favor of the forbidden? Ha'yarel hechadami le'mamadilu ha'yisrael v'alyahu el apshit mishum de'elus kosar mishum ledavar echad lo havi mishum lechol zer kula. Okay, let us say that the following Braita supports the opinion of Rava. Everyone slaughters, and even a Samaritan, and even an uncircumcised man, and even a Jewish transgressor. The Gemara asks, this uncircumcised man, what are the circumstances? If we say that he is an uncircumcised man whose brothers died to circumcision, and the concern is that he might suffer similar fate, clearly he may slaughter, as he is a full-fledged Jew and not a transgressor adult. Rather, it is obvious that he is a transgressor with regard to remaining uncircumcised, as he refuses to be circumcised. And the Tana holds that he may nevertheless slaughter an animal, since a transgressor concerning one matter is not a transgressor concerning the entire Torah. Ema seifa ve'afilu Yisrael mishumad Hi, mishum echidami, mishum ledavar acher. Hainu mishum le'elus. אלא למה ששום לא עושה דבר, say the latter clause of the Braita, and even a Jewish transgressor, this transgressor, what are the circumstances? If he is a transgressor concerning another matter besides eating unslaughtered animal carcasses, that is identical to the case of a transgressor with regard to remaining uncircumcised. Rather, is it not that he is a transgressor concerning the same matter of eating unslaughtered carcasses? And the Braita is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbah, who said that one may not rely on the slaughter of a Jewish transgressor whose transgression is that he eats unslaughtered animal carcasses to satisfy his appetite ab initio. Lo, leoilam eimalach mishumar leoto davar la. My time kevan dedash be ketera dami le. Ela mishumar levoy dezore. Yichid Ravanan, De'amar Ravanan, Amashmul Yisrael Mishumar levoy dezore mutar lecho b'shchidato. The Gemara rejects that proof. No, I will say to you, the slaughter of a transgressor concerning the same matter is not valid. What is the reason? It is that since he has become accustomed to the performance of that transgression, it is like a permitted act for him, and the concern is that he is not at all careful to slaughter the animal properly. Rather, the transgressor mentioned in the Braita is a transgressor with regard to idol worship. And it is accordance with the opinion of Ravanan, as Ravanan says that Shmuel says, with regard to a Jew who is a transgressor with regard to idol worship, it is permitted to eat from what he slaughters. Gufa, Omar Ravanan, Shmuel, Yisrael, Mishum, and David Israel. Mutalech, Mishkan, Soike, Shekem, Asin, Yehoshua, Melech Yehuda, Shenehenem, Misudas, Achov, Shenemar, Beizbach, Lo, Achav, Tzon, Ubakar, Lehov, ולעם אשר עמו ויסיתהו לעלות אל רמת גלעד. The Gemara analyzes the matter itself. Ravanan says that Shmuel says with regard to a Jew who is a transgressor with regard to idol worship, it is permitted to eat from what he slaughters. As we found with regard to Yehoshua, king of Judea, who partook of the feast prepared by Ahab, king of Israel, who was a transgressor with regard to idol worship, as it is stated in Achav, slaughtered sheep and cattle for him in abundance, and for the people that were with him, and incited him to go up with him to Ramoth Gilead. 2 Chronicles 18, verse 2. The Dilma Mizbach Zavach Mechalo Achar Yisiteu Gdiv. The Dilma Dvarim. And as the Gemara raised an objection. Perhaps Ahab slaughtered the animals, but Yehoshua did not eat the meat of those animals. The Gemara explains it is written and incited him and indicated that there was an element of persuasion that presumably involved food. The Gemara challenges this explanation, and perhaps Ahab incited him with words. The Gemara answers there is no incitement with words. No incitement with words. That's all what incitement is. I don't know what they mean by that. Okay, Villa. And is there no incitement with words? Yaketiv ki yesitcha achicha. B'achido b'shliya. Yaketiv b'tasiteini v'olima lechinam. L'imana shani. The Gemara asks, and is there not incitement with words? But isn't it written, if your brother entices you secretly saying, let us go and serve other gods? Deuteronomy 13:7. The Gemara answers, there too the incitement is with eating and with drinking. The Gemara asks, but isn't it written? How can you say that Deuteronomy is about eating and drinking? It says let's go after other gods. I don't get that. Okay, whatever. Let's go to Deuteronomy 13:7. The Gemara answers, there too the incitement is with eating and drinking. The Gemara asks, but isn't it written that God said to Satan, who denounced Job, and you incited me against him to destroy him gratuitously? Job 2:3. Clearly Satan did not incite God with food and drink. The Gemara answers, incitement against the one on high is different, as the term is used metaphorically. By contrast, incitement with regard to people involves food and drink. I don't see how you can call this eating and drinking. It's about eat and drink. It says let's go serve other gods. More answers inside. Okay. V'dilma mishte ishti ma'chalo achal ma'ishna shtiya yamina mishum le'velizaheh lo yamim mishum le'chol ha'ter kulo achila namim mishum le'velizaheh lo yamim mishum le'chol ha'ter kulo. The Gemara challenges him. Perhaps Jehoshaphat drank at the feast but did not eat. The Gemara responds, what is different about drinking wine with Ahab? That it would be permitted. It would be permitted because we say a transgressor with regard to idol worship is not considered transgression with regard to the entire Torah. And therefore his wine is not forbidden. With regard to eating a transgressor's food, too, a transgressor with regard to idol worship is not considered a transgressor with regard to the entire Torah. Therefore the meat of an animal that he slaughters is not forbidden. Stam Yenam. ועדיין לא ינסה ינם של גויים. אבל אחי להם לא, משום לבדוהם, הבי משום מה לאכול תלכו. The Gemara asks, how can these cases be compared? With regard to drinking, Ahab's wine is considered ordinary wine of Gentiles. And the ordinary wine of Gentiles was not yet prohibited, as the sages issued that decree only several generations later. Therefore, it was permitted for Jehoshaphat to drink Ahab's wine. But with regard to eating, I will say to you, a transgressor with regard to idol worship is considered a transgressor with regard to the entire Torah. Therefore, it was prohibited for Jehoshaphat to eat the meat from the animals slaughtered by Ahab. Liboy Sema Lado Hidemark Mastia Ikhwan Mechla Sema Bayas Bachnis Deu Kitiba Mesito Bisvicho. The Gemara answers, if you wish, say it is clear that Jehoshaphat ate at the feast, as it is not typical conduct of the king to drink wine without eating. And if you wish, say instead, and Ahab slaughtered sheep and cattle for him in abundance, and for the people that were with him and incited him, it is written indicating that what did Ahab incite Jehoshaphat? It was with slaughter of an animal. Apparently, it is permitted to eat from an animal slaughtered by a transgressor with regard to idol worship. The Dilma of Ovadia Zavach Lirov Ketiv Lovadi Lohave Safik. The Gemara suggests that perhaps Ovadia, who was the majordomo of Ahab's household and a righteous man, slaughtered the animals, and rejects that suggestion. In abundance is written, and Abiah would not have managed to slaughter all the animals himself. כל הברכיים אשר ילכו לבעל וגוי מאוד מורהו מטעמם מאיזבל. The Gemara suggests that perhaps 7,000 righteous people slaughtered the animals, as it is written, and I will leave 7,000 in Israel. All of these that are not bound to Baal. All of these have not bowed to Baal. And every mouth that has not kissed it. 1 Kings 19:18. The Gemara rejects the suggestion they were hiding from Jezebel, Ahab's wife, and would have gone to the palace to slaughter animals for the feast. The Gemara suggests that perhaps, although Ahab was an idolater, the men in the employ of Ahab were upstanding people, not idolaters, and they slaughtered the animals. The Gemara rejects that suggestion. The possibility should not enter your mind, as it is written, if a ruler hearkens to matters of falsehood, all his servants are wicked. Proverbs 29, verse 12. The Gemara suggests that perhaps the men in the employ of Jehoshaphat were not upstanding, and the animals that the men in the employ of Ahab slaughtered, the men in the employ of Jehoshaphat ate, and the animals of Obadiah slaughtered Jehoshaphat ate. לא סוגר דייתך. מידי מושל מקשיב על דבר שקר כל משרתיו רשעים. הדבר אמס משרתיו צדיקים. The Gemara rejects that suggestion. The possibility should not enter your mind from the fact that it is written, if a ruler hearkens to matters of falsehood, all his servants are wicked. It may be inferred that if a ruler hearkens to matters of truth, all his servants are righteous. Yehoshua the Gemara suggests, perhaps the animals that the men in the employ of Ahab slaughtered, Ahab and his men ate, and the animals that the men in the employ of Jehoshaphat slaughtered, Jehoshaphat and his men ate. Okay, we'll stop there.